Ladies and gentlemen, the media landscape that you've known is about to be obliterated. Donald Trump Jr. just dropped a bombshell that's sending shockwaves through newsrooms all across America. The White House press corps, that bastion of legacy media propaganda, is facing total reconstruction. Joe Rogan, Megyn Kelly, and real journalists are set to replace the old guard. Meanwhile, CNN and MSNBC can't even beat the Hallmark Channel in ratings. This isn't just a changing of the guard, it is a complete demolition of the propaganda machine, and we're about to show you exactly how Trump's team plans to revolutionize how Americans get their news from the White House. Now, if you're feeling weak and powerless against mainstream media lies, well, it's time to boost your strength like the independent media is boosting truth. And that's why I trust Sculpt Nation Test Boost. Just as alternative media is breaking the legacy news monopoly, Test Boost breaks through your body's barriers to peak performance. While fake news outlets lose viewers daily, you'll be gaining strength, energy, and vitality. Join the millions who've discovered this natural solution to declining testosterone. Don't let the mainstream media, or low T, control your life. Go to sculptnation.com/NNN now and save 51% off of your first order. Okay. Now, you watch the show. You recognize where we harvest all of the news that we bring you. We spend many, many hours collecting and organizing. Well, Scott Jennings over on CNN, he is now a new favorite, especially after the election. And leading up to the election. But he had this really beautiful moment that has gone viral. Just this post alone has over 527,000 hits. Scott Jennings says X is the most ideologically balanced platform. But he says it to the CNN panel. And watch the meltdown.
I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott, stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes.
You cannot continue to say that.
You cannot say that. That's not the case. Who's the source of that?
What I find, we've reported it on this network.
Look at this. The party ID among the...
What's your source? What's your source of that? My source is CNN.
who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better.
I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week.
I just love it.
It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott, stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes. You cannot continue to say that. You cannot say that. That's not the case. Who's the source of that?
Who's your source? Who's your source? Oh, it's CNN. And speaking of fake news, this just popped about 5 hours ago. Fake news. MSNBC says it's okay to cut off family members during the holiday for voting for Trump. Really?
You are going...
That's how sick these people are. They don't care. Family means nothing to these people. And here, watch.
I mean, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them. We got the holidays coming up.
So I love that you asked this question because, there is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood. Wow. And it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me. And I actually talk to, adults as well as advising parents for children. I mean, I think, I don't think that you should force children. I don't think you should force adults to be around people just because they're your family. I think there's a level of need to establish boundaries. And if you feel like you need to establish boundaries with people, whether they're your family or not, I think you should very much be entitled to do so. And I think it may be essential for your mental health.
Essential for your mental health to cut off family members. For years, this is from DC Drano. He posted this amazing insight. For years, we have steadily built a MAGA social media ecosystem to bolster our movement. Now, I've been building this YouTube channel since 2012. Okay. Now, DC Drano, he's not on YouTube. He's prominent on X. A lot of these people he's talking about are dozens of influencers with over 5 million followers, hundreds with over 1 million followers. Tens of millions of digital soldiers hell-bent on taking back our country who reach thousands every day. When the deep state took over major media organizations, we knew we had nobody speaking for we the people. So we created our own media. And Elon Musk's purchase of X has truly unleashed our strength. So strong that we've taken the White House, Congress, and the Supreme Court, and soon will fix our election systems, protect free speech, and cripple the globalist war machine. Democrats are finally waking up to what we've built, but it's too late. The American people are slow to rise, but once they do, they are an unstoppable force. Bad news for the deep state. We have arisen. And that is the exact reason why I built this channel so many years ago. And speaking of warriors, Alex Jones' InfoWars is a topic we've been tracking here. Well, the Onion's bid for Alex Jones' InfoWars is now hanging in the balance as a judge has ordered a new hearing. So, yeah, all that talk of the Onion taking InfoWars was just fake news. And the Washington Post, yeah, the legacy media is dying. Doom spiral. The liberal Washington Post is on track to lose a whopping $77 million this year. And we played this the other day, but it is worth repeating because it is solid gold. One of my favorite podcasts. I don't listen to many podcasts, but one of my favorite podcasts is Patrick Bet-David's podcast. And I'll never forget meeting him at Mar-a-Lago when he told me that his father watches the Next News Network. I thought that was so crazy. When he saw me without my glasses, he's like, "Hey, Franchi." Or he's like, "Hey, don't you normally wear glasses?" I mean, he recognized me without my glasses on. So that just goes to show. I mean, Patrick Bet-David watches the Next News Network also. Anyway, enough of that. But this is what he said, roasting CNN and MSNBC.
Folks, imagine you're CNN and MSNBC. You're at a point that you're okay losing to Fox. You're at a point that you're okay losing to Rogan. You're at a point that you may even okay losing to other podcasters, right? You know, election night, some people are putting more numbers than you are. We did that on election night. You're like, listen, those guys are amateurs. We're pros. We built the Titanic. The amateurs are building the Joe Rogan Experience, the PVD podcast, all this other stuff. But these are amateurs. But imagine you wake up one day and your producer comes to you and says, guys, what? Hallmark just beat us. Bro, what are you talking about? Hallmark just beat us. Tell me nobody's written that article yet. Bro, they wrote it already. That's bullshit. No. Hallmark? They make cards. Give them a Hallmark. Hallmark beat CNN and MSNBC in viewership last week.
No way.
Here's a supersized guide to rating in all 32 new holiday films. Can you imagine that?
Man.
How do you let Hallmark beat you? You can let a lot of people beat you. You cannot let Hallmark beat you. We're talking about practice, right? We're talking about Hallmark. We cannot be talking about Hallmark here, right? I mean, you understand
practice.
What
reference. Okay, so I bring all this up because there is a massive revolution that is taking place. And we covered this the other day. And of course, we have this Elon Musk confirming plans to buy MSNBC. Joe Rogan made Elon an offer nobody could refuse. And Joe Rogan said, if you buy MSNBC, I'd like to take Rachel Maddow's job. We'll wear the same outfit and glasses, and I will tell the same lies. Elon Musk says it is a deal. Okay, so I'm building up to this. Because now we have this. This just happened. Donald Trump Jr. tells Michael Knowles that his dad may remove mainstream media from the White House press room.
Seats. So, but I wonder now, as your father is assembling his team, as maybe Caroline Leavitt is looking at the new press briefing room chart, maybe it's time to reorder that chart and maybe take away some people's seats.
So we're going to break some news here, because I literally had this conversation. I was flying back. I was on the plane, I guess, with my father. I think it was coming back from the SpaceX launch with Elon last week. And I was sitting there, and we were talking about like the podcast world and some of our friends and Rogan and guys like you and me to a lesser extent. I wouldn't be able to get a seat. That would be nepotism or whatever the hell. I'd be indicted again. I'd have to do more congressional testimony, so I'll pass. But we actually had this conversation about, like, given how the media has behaved. I mean, you brought up the New York Times. You saw the fact check of Bobby Kennedy talking about the different ingredients in Fruit Loops. And it was like, no, it's exactly the same as Canada, except we use yellow dye number 5 here instead of like orange, like carrots. And we use purple dye number 2,376 instead of blueberry extract. And I'm like, that's your fact check? Like, it's the same, but for these like really toxic chemicals that are banned in, dozens of countries. Like, I don't get it. But we had the conversation about opening up the press room to a lot of these independent journalists. Like, why should, if the New York Times has lied, they've been adverse to everything, they're functioning as the marketing arm of the Democrat Party, like, why not open it up to people who have larger viewerships, stronger followings? Like, it's not like the New York, I mean, how much money are they losing a year? The Washington Post, lost 70 to 45 to $70 million. Doesn't seem like they're a great success. So just because they've been there longer, it's like the way Congress functions. Like, you get a committee, not because you know anything about banking, but because you've been there longer. And it's like,
right.
Doesn't seem like a great way to do things. So we've had that conversation. Like, that's a great idea, Don. I was like, I think we should do this. And so that may be in the works. Let's see. That's going to blow up some heads. So, we'll see.
So the conversations are being had. And there's a reason that these conversations are being had. And I'm going to bring it back to what was said. This is back in October. Okay. General Mike Flynn, a podcast presidency. General Mike Flynn said October 28th, I think it's time to include podcasters in the White House press room. With their unique perspective and abilities to engage audiences, podcasters bring a fresh perspective to reporting. Legacy media is irrelevant today. Watch this.
Because, I'll kind of dub it, although I didn't coin it. I'll dub this the podcast presidency. And I actually would love to see Donald Trump win. And then, in the White House press room, I want him to remove the whole front row of the major news networks and put like the top podcasters, Seth Holhouse right there, front row, right? I mean, Joe Rogan, if he wants to be there, right? Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, because this is the new medium. This is how we're communicating. I'll kind of dub it, although I didn't coin it.
So
I'll dub it.
That was October 28th, but it goes back even further. All right. Now, as I'm going to get to that in a second, but this was posted. The legacy media literally lies about everything important to the American people. They serve as a propaganda arm of the woke Democrats. They're both insane and tyrannical. Most of our media favors censorship. They are enemies of the people. And that's what Donald Trump has been saying. He's been saying it for a long time. And of course, you have Brian Stelter. He's freaking out. Okay. Croxed out. I don't know about you, but the thought that something makes Brian Stelter fret is enough of a good reason for Elon Musk to buy MSNBC. So he's freaking out over the idea that Elon Musk is about to buy MSNBC. And then, of course, we have Alec Baldwin. All right, this is how out of touch the entertainment, the media elite are. He says Americans are really uninformed about reality. No, you're out of touch, sir.
People can learn in my country without going into significant detail. Half the people in the country are happy, and half the people in the country are very unhappy. It's a very difficult time in the United States, and I think the only way people can learn what is happening, and film is unique in this way, not only what's happening in the United States, but around the world. What's happening, you might not learn from the news television news in the United States is a business. They have to make money. And again, not to go into great detail about that, but there's a hole, there's a vacuum. There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans.
Oh, and Alec, pardon me for interrupting, but we are filling that gap because there is a vacuum. I said that 20 years ago in my first studio. I said there is a vacuum in the mainstream media, and I intend to fill that vacuum. I said that 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And here we are, millions of subscribers later. This channel has had over, I think we're approaching 2 billion views on the Next News Network. But our work is not done. Our work is far from over. Let's continue with this lunatic.
Very uninformed about reality, what's really going on with climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world. Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information. That vacuum is filled by the film industry, not just the independent film industry, not just the documentary film industry, which are very important around the world.
The vacuum is filled by the entertainment industry? Really, dude?
But by narrative films as well, where the filmmakers and the...
Okay, enough of you, Alec Baldwin. Okay, we're gonna get to the whole point of this here in a minute. Oh, I lost my display. 1 second. Let me get that reconnected here. And are we back? Okay, we're back. Okay. So okay, this is all huge. Wall Street Mav, the legacy news media operates as the White House Correspondents Association and controls the seating assignments in the press briefing room. Why? Tradition. The WHCA has no official rights or ownership to anything. Presidents simply allow this. They just allow it. It's just been, grandfathered in over many years. Donald Trump Jr. saying Trump may remove the mainstream media. And so this is the new press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt. And Alec Lay says that this is the worst possible press secretary choice for the fake news media. 2 minutes of her demolishing an ABC News anchor. Remember, she's going to be the one taking over for KJP.
We're hoping he want to talk about violence against political opponents. Let's talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a threat to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to Hitler, one of the worst mass murderers in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political violence that has led to 2 heinous assassination attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political violence because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political violence. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans to for decades.
Boom! Yeah. Boom! Smoked. I cannot wait to see her at the podium in the White House press room. Of course, she's easier on the eyes than, say, Alex Jones. But I know Alex Jones. I just pray that maybe he would just make a guest appearance. Please. Donald, Mr. President, Don Jr., hear my plea. All right? This is the plea of the people. Let Alex Jones make a guest appearance and take over that press room for just one day. It would be the most glorious moment in White House history. Please, I beg of you, hear me. Okay. All right. I'm getting to the point here. All right? So stick with me. All right. So now, if you don't believe me, this was actually, the Daily Mail published this. Trump plots stunning White House briefing shakeup that's set to change the media landscape forever. Charlie Kirk, Don Jr., revealed on his Rumble show Triggered that President Trump is considering a massive White House press briefing room shakeup. This is actually happening. It's all in the works. It's happening behind the scenes. But here's a woman, okay? She lays it out. She explains why her main sources of information are social media and podcasts. I'm laying a foundation here, my friends. Laying a foundation. Let's listen.
I'm appalled. I'm appalled at CNN. I just pulled into the parking lot of the gym. I have a 40-minute drive here. So what I've been trying to do over the last, 3-4 months is on my way here for 20 minutes, I listen to Fox News. For 20 minutes, I listen to CNN News because I have found you cannot get the accurate truth from either one, to be very honest. But I want to hear what one side is saying and what the other side is saying. Back in the day, I'm showing my age, I'm 59, there used to be journalists. I have now decided they don't even exist anymore because they just come on and spout what they believe in completely. You used to never, I'm showing my age, but you used to never know what that person reporting the news believed on it. They were just saying this is what happened, and they would have one side maybe talk about it versus the other side, and you had a conversation about it. We all know that doesn't happen anymore. Over the last few years, I didn't even realize I was doing this. I quit watching the news. I quit watching it because of that. It was kind of disgusting because I'm like, I don't even know whether to believe what they're saying. So I started searching out news in other places. Podcasts became huge to me. I listen to a ton of podcasts in the car because I have a long drive everywhere. I also heard a lot on social media. I hear a lot on TikTok. I've learned a lot on TikTok. So on my way here, I listened for 20 minutes to Fox News in the car, and they were talking about Title IX. I found it really interesting. I want to do a little more research. I turned it over to CNN. I have a certain spot in the road where I know I need to turn it over to CNN. There was someone named Jim Acosta. I don't even know who this is. Jim Acosta said that Don Jr. yesterday said that they were going to change up the White House briefing room. And I went, oh, I wonder what that means. And he said basically the people who usually are on the front row or whatever, I guess they're assigned seats, which kind of makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense, but CNN's there, Fox is there, ABC, CBS, all those. He's going to change that all up, and he's inviting in podcasters, or he's planning to invite podcasters in, and I don't know, social media people. Initially, I have to tell you, when I was driving and I heard that, I was like, oh, that's fantastic. That's great. That was my reaction, because that's where I'm getting my news from. Instead, what does Jim Acosta say? He says they're going to invite lackeys in, and he used some other words that I don't even know what they are. Basically, I walked away with the impression that he thought they were uneducated, didn't know what they were talking about. Then he goes on to say, I don't know why he decides to say this, but he says he covered Trump's first presidency, and Trump was a person who did not serve the people, he served himself, and that was his downfall of his first presidency. This is why I don't watch the news. CNN, what a horrible look. These are supposed to be journalists. I now know he hates Trump. He thinks very poorly of anyone who is not in mainstream media. Get with it. I'm 59 and I even know podcasts are kind of where it's at right now. Social media is where it's at right now. People are getting their news from these locations because we can't trust you, because you say stuff like this. It was disgusting. I mean, I just want to go in and work out, and I'm sitting here on TikTok blowing up about it, and I don't even talk about politics on TikTok. What's going on? Does anyone else feel this way? Is it just me? I mean, are you over this mainstream media stuff?
Oh, yes, we are over it. Okay? So, the first two rows of the new White House press corps should be independent journalists. Put the legacy media in the back of the room, standing room only. They've lost their privilege to be up front. They need to earn that back. Oh, and remember these moments here? Yeah. Here we go. This is what we're going to be seeing very soon.
Between you people, don't talk to me that way. You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way. Go ahead, take Well, I'll give you I will give you voter suppression. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her.
No.
She's like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Oh, yes, the reckoning is coming. And did you guys hear that Caitlin Collins? Caitlin Collins is actually now going to be taking Jim Acosta's role. That's going to be something else. I think we have a point on that. Oh, we have, here it is. Here it is. Yeah, the new Jim Acosta. She's already shown she's rude and a Trump hater. Should Trump deny these left-wing media activists White House press credentials? Caitlin Collins named CNN's chief White House correspondent. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to witness. Caitlin Collins has been named CNN's chief White House correspondent. But we are the media now. As ex-media, everyone on here has a moral responsibility to tell the truth during the Trump administration to counter the lies that Caitlin Collins, Jim Acosta, Jake Tapeworm, and any other legacy media that's out there. This is our job now. This is what we do. Yes, we push back. That's all we've been doing. Next News Network has been pushing back against the likes of Jim Acosta and Caitlin Collins for years. But, and then we have this. Did you hear this? Again, another Hollywood actor, Sharon Stone. I think her most famous role was when she, crossed her legs in Basic Instinct. Yeah, that's what she's really known for. But she says that you are ignorant and stupid.
Adolescence. Italy has seen fascism. Italy has seen these things. You guys, you understand what happens. You have seen this before. My country is in its adolescence. Adolescence is very arrogant. Adolescence thinks it knows everything. Adolescence is naive and ignorant and arrogant. And we are in our ignorant, arrogant adolescence.
Wow.
We haven't seen this before in our country. So Americans who don't travel, who 80% don't have a passport, who are uneducated, are in their extraordinary naivete.
Wow.
What I can say is that the only way that we can help with these issues is to help each other.
So is that your idea of helping is by calling everyone ignorant because they're not well-traveled like you, Sharon? Unreal.
Now, we can't just say that women should help women because that's the only way we have survived so far.
Okay, I've had enough of her. Let's get to the point. Because the legacy media is dying. We are the media now. Carolyn Levitt, the worst possible press secretary choice for the fake news media, is about to take over the press room. But I'm getting to the point because it's really Chanel Rion of One America News we have to thank for this. She is the reason. Okay? During Trump's first term, she fought to get into that press room. And Donald Trump let her in so she could cover honestly what is happening in there. They treated her so badly. They should have just been nice to her. But you know what? They weren't. And she fought back. And she started her own White House Correspondents Association. All right? I know we played this before in a previous report, but this is the foundation of all that we're seeing right now. Okay, because this clip here that was posted to her X account, it was cross-posted on other X accounts, went mega viral. I mean, our own YouTube video on this went viral as well. So the narrative has been saturated and seeded. And that is exactly why you just saw Don Jr. talking about it when he was with Elon Musk and they were watching the SpaceX launch last week. Okay? It's because of our work. It's because of people on X sharing the message that it gets and saturates and gets all the way to the top, because we're putting the narrative out there. And it is the work of Chanel Rion that we have to thank for this. I want you guys to hear her story. Now, if you've heard it before, listen to it again. Because you know how, like, when you watch a movie the second time, you always catch different things, you catch new things. That's what I want you to do as we watch this together.
Congress did pass. It's time to deconstruct the White House briefing room. This is both a call to action and a step behind the scenes to a story that has never been told until now. So here's the condensed version. The White House Correspondents Association, a 501c3 founded by a bunch of top hat and cane 1913 Wilsonian old boys, and by the way, no girls allowed for decades, has operated on the White House grounds and tyrannically controlled the White House briefing room without any legal standing. They charge thousands to use those green tents outside. Pay to play. Donate and you may get a tent or even a seat inside the briefing room. That would be like you and me setting up a booth in front of the Lincoln Memorial and not only charging visitors to look at the memorial, but deciding who actually gets to see it. How long do you think it would take before the authorities showed up to escort us off the premises? So here we have a 501c3 controlling the activities on federal property. I saw firsthand, too, how scared everyone was of this cartel. No one had the guts to stand up to the WHCA. You see, the White House Correspondents Association dictates who sits inside the briefing room. They decide which outlets go into the Oval Office or travel with the president. Under what authority does the WHCA operate? Congressional approval? A White House agreement? A decree from some president long ago? Are they an official branch of the White House press office? Well, the DOJ answered this one. Zip, zed, nada. The WHCA, the White House Correspondents Association, is a no-jurisdiction private club acting like it's some federal agency protected by God himself. No, it exists out of tradition and because they say so and they're bullies. But you know, Congress did pass a law eliminating the practice of a monopoly. And that's exactly what the White House Correspondents Association is. So in April 2020, I founded the National White House Correspondents Association to counteract the WHCA. I drafted a memo. The press secretary at the time ran my long-form 60-pager past White House General Counsel. And they affirmed the White House Correspondents Association has zero legal standing. Ah, yes, the "we've always done it" authority clause. Yet, with no standing and this unchallenged monopoly, the White House Correspondents Association has used that press briefing room to peddle the DNC platform, and they've used it as a cudgel with which to beat and bully Trump's press secretaries and his representatives, and his entire Trump agenda. They beat and bullied me. I was the lone pro-America First reporter, and doubly insulting for them, a minority female. But despite their every attempt to keep me from accessing Trump and Kelly, I was graciously invited by the White House and made to stand in the back of the room. WHCA members left nasty grounds on my desk, vandalized my workspace, blocked me in the briefing room, roped me off in the corner, cursed me on live TV, cut my internet cables, taped up my wooden chair. I then announced NWHCA's formation, the National White House Correspondents Association. And the White House Correspondents Association sent me a cease and desist letter. I ignored them. They did nothing. They were, of course, petrified I would expose their little secret. The not-so-great WHCA, I wrote in my memo to the White House, is not legally more than a tiny and ostensibly nonprofit Section 501c3 organization with about $350,000 in annual revenue and 0 employees. This puts the financial seriousness of the failing WHCA on revenue parity with a failing Subway sandwich store. Problem was, the Trump White House was in the midst of re-election. I was told the status quo would remain until the second inauguration. So I announced my organization and I waited. But empowered by my research, I struck a deal with the White House. And with OAN's funding, built a tent on the White House North Lawn. A tent that would be home for all us so-called riffraff. The White House Correspondents Association lost their minds, but they had no jurisdiction, no authority to stop it. And when Biden took office, they tried to take the tent. Secret Service came to my rescue. I call it affectionately the Alamo. It stands for this day a symbol of press freedom. The White House home for One America News and all National White House Correspondents Association members, current and future. Boy, do I have stories about that tent. But I digress. So yesterday, Axios published this pearl-clutching scoop that Team Trump plans to shake up the briefing room by giving conservative media access to the White House. But, Axios points out, there's solace. At least the White House Correspondents Association can gatekeep the briefing room seats to keep out the riffraff. How cute Axios and the WHCA think they have that power. It's, of course, like them, fake news, but only if Trump's next press office has the guts to recognize they don't have this power. Deconstruct that briefing room. Make it reflect the new media faces that so decisively shamed the legacy outlets in their numerical irrelevance. The new media reflect the American people, not the elite martini olive snarfing Yamiche Alcindors or Jim Acostas. In my letter from April 2020 to the White House, I added the importance of new media as illustrated by Trump himself. President Trump has proven how effective are direct-to-America communications and has shown internet media and streaming are the future of communications in a modern presidency. No middlemen, no broadcasting licenses, no cable carriage disputes. The filter is gone. New media dominate. Truer now than it was back then. I also pointed out this ugly secret. The WHCA's IRS Form 990 shows the salary machine truth. A salary maker dipping disproportionately into a meager revenues of a nonprofit. Funded by big media donors sponsoring a single and untidy annual joke dinner attracting a crowd of look-at-me Hollywood has-beens and hangers-on who provide the correspondence dinner with a leering and leftist audience who attend to try diminishing the presidency and conservatism with puerile humor and putty-grade humorists. President Trump rightly and tastefully refuses to attend or dignify this alcohol-drenched pomposity. Assuredly, the National White House Correspondents Association will host its own correspondence dinner that will honor and celebrate the presidency. This was 4 years ago. Biden took the presidency, and it was clear that Biden's press office was not interested in press freedom. Oh, no. So my ideas for equalizing the press room and pool duties associated was put on pause. The Biden press office and the WHCA were honeymooning in holier-than-thou delirium. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, OAN, each of us alone have more viewers at any given hour than any
Next news network.
These legacy rats have in an entire day. And if real journalism was the goal, they showed just how incapable of that they were these last 4 years. Covering for the Biden family hospice and propping up pill-popping Kamala. These people need to come clean. Admit what they are. They are partisan pawns. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. I love diversity of thought. Just be honest about it.
Yeah.
And don't hog the room with your unjustified girth. Perhaps now we might have an attorney general and an FBI director who can find out how much the WHCA has financially gained from the taxpayers' White House. Perhaps we'll have a press office in the White House with the guts to stand up to them. The future of media is an exciting one. It's filled not with the pale left cult miscreants of the WHCA, but by the beautiful diversity that is true new media. Liberal opinions count, but not enough to suffocate the Brady press room. They're wrong for a modern White House, and the tasks the WHCA currently monopolize are not theirs to wield. It is the president's and his press offices alone. Time to make the old boys of the WHCA go stand in the corner this round. It's time to deconstruct the White House briefing room.
Yes, my friends, this is what is happening. And even Caroline Leavitt, who is the new appointed press secretary, already getting attacked by the Washington Post. The reporter doing gymnastics to try to sow division and blame President Trump for something he admits in his email has no trace to him whatsoever. So, friends, we are standing on the precipice of a media revolution that we have never seen before. Now, this next administration is going to be groundbreaking in every way. I mean, just the Doge alone, which I'm like really excited about, and I'm tracking everything they're doing. That alone is going to cut so much waste out of the government. But the fact that now new media is finally going to have its day, and the conversations are being had at the highest levels with Don Jr. and his father, says it all. So buckle up, my friends. Buckle up, because these next 4 years are going to be absolutely amazing. And we're going to probably have to hire a White House press correspondent at some point. Trump reportedly considering cutting out mainstream media from press room in favor of independents like Joe Rogan. Think about that for a moment. It is going to be groundbreaking. This is the seating assignment. White House press briefing room assignment. At the top, you have NBC News in the front row. NBC News, Fox News, CBS News, AP, ABC, Reuters, and CNN. Second row, Wall Street Journal, CBS News, Bloomberg, NPR, Washington Post, New York Times, and USA Today. Now, the red color there represents the leaning of the organization. And if you look, that means they're conservative leaning. That's Fox News. You got one in that whole 2 rows. And the next one eventually shows up at the Daily Mail, 4 rows back. And then at the very, very back, you've got Daily Caller, EWTN, and then Salem Radio, Fox Business, Fox Radio. Those are the only conservative-leaning members in the press pool right now. Think about that for a second. But that front row is going to change. And I pray to God that Don Jr. and Chanel Rion and Donald Trump shake this up, because it's happening. The conversations are being had. So the message is clear. The days of the fake news controlling the narrative are over. When Caroline Leavitt takes that podium at the as press secretary, she's not just facing reporters, she's facing down decades of established media corruption. The front row will not be filled with CNN and MSNBC anymore. It will be packed with journalists who actually report the truth. So here's what I want to know from you. Which independent journalists would you like to see in the White House press briefing room? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Don Jr., Chanel Rion, Donald Trump, they watch this channel, so they'll see your comments. And speaking of independence, our new Magavengers collection has dropped at the Next News merch shop. These limited edition pieces feature our Magavengers design. It's already causing meltdowns in newsrooms across America. So head to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com because just like real journalism, these won't last very long.